everybody. You are listening to the History Boys. I am Christopher Whedon, and once again, I am History Boy. And once again, Zach is still no longer with us. He's passed away to touring. I think he's in, I don't know, Houston or
Boston,
Dallas. Or...
He was in Houston not too long ago.
Oh yeah,
but
he's
now
in Atlanta. He's in.
I think he was in Boston last time.
He's in Bucharest.
I don't know where the hell he is.
He's in
It's in that area.
Tyler Armstrong, History Boy here as well. You know, as Chris, and Jerry alluded to, we have sent Zach on his missionary mission to go spread the good word of the History Boys nationwide and on a global scale. And so sooner or later, a lot of people are. He's handling it one interaction at a time, taking people's phones, subscribing to our podcast on wherever you listen to podcasts, and it's working out pretty good. Our numbers are going up, a little bit every week. So
Bucharest is actually Romania. I knew we had talked about Bucharest at one point. And I am Jerry Nash, your humble history boy. As always, thank you so much for listening to us. We are now in episode 3 of Spooky Season this year.
Part 2, episode 3.
Oh, Spooky Season Part 2, episode 3.
Yeah. That
makes sense. Yes.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. And as usual, I am spooked. Scared. Spooked shitless. North Korea.
Today I have actually a listener request.
Request. Yes, you're like, I listened to this and I requested it.
Yeah. This one comes from our listener, Kat. Thank you so much for this recommendation. It's a great story. Today, of course, we are talking about Lizzie Borden.
Yeah.
What do you guys know about Lizzie Borden going into this?
She's an axe murderer.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think Michael Myers married her.
Is that true?
He was like, so I married an axe murderer.
Oh.
See what I'm doing there?
Mike Myers.
No, the other one.
Well, aren't they the same guy?
Yeah. Aren't they? He's also a murderer.
He's like, do I make you full of holes with a knife, baby?
Yeah.
And he stabs him, because he's also Austin Powers.
I tell you, that audience was sure murdered with laughter when watching all 3 of the Austin Powers
and
hits.
Don't forget about the Love Guru as well.
Yeah.
How could I?
All the hits.
Yeah. I like the first Austin Powers.
When those movies came out, people were like, this is pure comedy.
Oh, yeah.
You weren't on board?
I mean, who wasn't at that time and place?
The first Austin Powers, come on, that was a solid movie.
In 1998,
didn't age well. But
I went to a wedding as a boy, and I got sequestered to the hotel room because I was a child at the time, child for the world, not mentally. I was a grown man mentally. I was allowed to order as many movies as I wanted, and that's the first time I watched both Austin Powers and The Fifth Element, and I was like,
nice.
Could this weekend get any better? Like, I was like, I'm just finding all these great new movies.
Yeah, those are good movies. I saw The Fifth Element in the theater. Ooh. I remember that.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is good. I like the gun that has all the settings.
Yeah.
You know?
Bring me the stones.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's funny that you bring that up, because both Lizzie Borden would have loved to have that gun to murder her parents with. And also, I'm pretty sure Gary Oldman would make a great Lizzie Borden. I think he'd really disappear from the role.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you guys have heard the rhyme, though. How does that rhyme go? Do you guys know how
There's
that
a rhyme
goes? The Lizzie Borden rhyme.
Lizzie Borden was from Nantucket.
Yeah.
She had a dick so big she could suck it.
Yeah. I didn't know her dick was that big.
Tell us the rhyme.
The rhyme: Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks.
Oh, yes.
When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
Oh. Are those numbers accurate?
No.
Well,
there's actually another part of it as well.
It's like the Star Spangled Banner, where there's all those extra verses that everyone forgot about.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about the first verse, so this is all new to me.
You didn't know about the first verse?
No.
I've never heard that in my life.
Really?
I don't even know who Lizzie Borden is.
So the second part of it is, Andrew Borden now is dead. Lizzie hit him on the head. Up in heaven he will sing. On the gallows she will swing.
Oh, because on the gallows she's going to do a swinging dance. Damn it.
Really convinced the townsfolk that she's not so bad.
She's like,
hello, my honey. Hello,
she's like,
hello, my ragtime girl.
If I'm a murderer, then how come I can dance so good? Like, she's clearly guilty.
Yeah, you may leave now. Now, the double axe murder on August 4th, 1892, remains unsolved to this day.
Mm-hmm. Robert Stack, ghost, get on it.
Yeah, right? Yeah. The tragedy of Fall River, Massachusetts became the trial of the century and has entered into the American legend.
Unless you're Chris and Tyler, then...
Somehow, it completely evaded you.
It was just the rhyme I've never heard.
That's so weird.
I know she murdered her parents. And wasn't she like, I don't know, like a New Hampshire 7 or something like that? Like, she was like... she was like cute, but like... not like
for the time,
adjusted for inflation.
Yes,
adjusted for inflation.
That makes perfect sense to me.
There's pictures of her. You can.
I just looked at him, and I'm going to be honest. No, pass.
Chris, have a couple more beers and look at it again.
Yeah. Now, Andrew Borden was a rich man.
Oh,
he was a self-made man. He went from a casket maker,
badass,
ironic,
yeah, right, to a leader in the Fall River's textile industry.
Oh, textiles.
He was a property developer, landlord, and the president of the Union Savings Bank.
And the president of the United States of America.
Yeah. I thought you were going to, at one point, bring up import-export, because usually...
He's an importer-exporter.
Yeah, as soon as someone says textiles...
Textile magnate.
Yeah. What other, like, esoteric, like, industry made this person
He was a magnet for textiles.
Yeah. They just came to him.
His name was Andrew Jackson Borden.
Oh.
So... Just letting you know.
Just like Andrew Stevens' middle name is Jackson.
He wouldn't...
Yeah.
It's not.
Lizzie didn't happen to be at least part Native American, did she? Okay,
no.
Because it would have been really ironic if Andrew Jackson Borden was murdered by his partially Native American daughter. Would have really come full circle.
Poetic justice in a bizarre way. Yeah. Their family lineage actually went like all the way back to like the founding of this country and whatnot. They were a name. They weren't the richest people in town, but they were...
They were the second.
They were well off. They were well off.
They were always one step behind the Joneses.
Well, let's just put it this way. They had slaves that found the bodies.
They had servants.
I know, yeah.
Not quite the same thing, but still.
Yeah.
You know, they were servants.
The difference is you pay one less than a living wage.
Yeah.
And one you don't pay.
Now, Andrew Borden, he was a miserly man. To the hilt.
You don't get rich spending money.
Well, that's kind of the way he looked at it. He only used his wealth for the bare necessities in life.
Like Baloo the Bear.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about.
Like Baloo the Bear. Baloo's actually based off of
Andrew Borden.
Andrew Borden. The scene from the book where Mowgli kills him with an axe was not in the movie.
No.
It was instead replaced with King Louie.
Yeah. They're like, let's put in this happy number. Yeah. I want to be like you instead. Yeah. He married a woman named Sarah Anthony Morse. And they had 3 children.
Got all that Morse code money.
They had Emma, who was the oldest, and then Alice, who was the middle child, but she only survived till she was 2, and then
not old enough.
Passed away.
Terrible who's got her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the youngest was Lizzie Andrew Borden.
Short for Elizabeth?
No, she was christened Lizzie. Her name is Lizzie.
That's some bullshit.
Yeah.
It's because of her forked tongue.
And I guess Andrew wanted a boy, and that's why he named her Lizzie Andrew Borden.
He's like, this isn't spite, but it is.
Yeah. Yeah. She was born on July 19th, 1860. Now, her mother, Sarah, died shortly after when Lizzie was just 2 years old. And only 3 years...
Twos.
Only 3 years later, Andrew married Abby Durfee Gray. And
Durfee was a middle name, or is it a hyphenated situation?
It's a middle name, I believe.
Yeah, you can hide that one.
Yeah.
You're one of those people where you're like, I don't tell people my middle name.
What is it? Durfee.
Like, I can see.
Your parents hated you.
Yeah. Emma and Lizzie really grew close, and Emma sort of helped raise Lizzie, and Lizzie sort of saw her as a more maternal figure than Abby. And Emma wouldn't let Lizzie forget either that Abby is not their real mom. You know what I mean? So they never called her mom. They called her either Mrs. Borden or Abby.
Mm-hmm.
How did she feel about that?
I mean, there was definitely something between them, but she was sort of a quiet, dour woman, very much of the age. She didn't like going outside or doing anything. She liked to stay inside and sort of keep to herself a little bit.
She loved the 2020s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But, Andrew, when he married her, it was sort of, because she was kind of quote, spinster age of the time, of the Victorian
23.
times.
Yeah,
right. And
her eggs have gone bad.
And so in a lot of ways, he was just sort of getting a glorified housekeeper. And that's kind of how he treated her, and that's kind of how the whole family treated her. And she was like, well, that's just sort of how it goes,
Yeah.
Because that's what you kind of did back in those days.
It's not like she could go start a business or
No.
strike out on her own.
Yeah.
No. There were women that did that, but it was rare.
Those are witches.
Yeah. Now, the high society of Fall River, Massachusetts, they lived up on the hill, and they even called it the Hill. And that's where all, like, the nice houses were, where all the rich families lived. But Andrew Borden moved his family to a place on 2nd Street, which is, down more in the town.
Down in the valley below.
Yeah, working class neighborhood, so he could be closer to the bank,
Yeah.
Gotta keep
his money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get a telescope and he'd look out his window and he'd be like, bank's still there. Money's still there.
It was also just
sleep.
It was a tower full of gold coins that he would sleep in.
Yeah.
Swim in.
Yeah.
It was a modest-sized tower, but it wasn't the biggest tower.
It was like back in the day, they'd say tower. It's like the Tower of London. You're like, come on.
Yeah. It's barely a tower.
Barely.
Yeah.
It's practically wider than it is tall. I don't think that's a tower.
Yeah.
London, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
At least your Tower Bridge has towers.
Right.
I'm playing Watchdog Legion.
But yeah, Emma and Lizzie, they considered it below their station to live there. And even when they went to school, people said that Lizzie was just sort of aloof. She didn't want to make many friends with the common rabble.
I wouldn't.
And the house they moved into, actually, it's bizarrely built. It's set up kind of weird because it was supposed to be like a place to stay for I think it was like a logging industry or something where workers would stay in sort of a bunkhouse type thing.
It was built by H.H. Holmes.
It didn't have hallways. There's no hallways in it.
Yeah, that's weird.
Open floor plan.
Yeah.
Well, there was a bunch of just walls. So to get to Emma's room, you went up the stairs and there was a landing at the top, and you would either have to go through the guest bedroom, into Lizzie's bedroom, and then into Emma's bedroom, or you went into Lizzie's bedroom and then into Emma's bedroom, right? So you had to walk through someone's room to get to your room, right? If you were Emma.
Have fun jacking off in that house. Just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, or, jilling off, whatever. I'm just saying, it's hard to masturbate in a house where all the rooms are connected.
Yeah.
You just gotta be like...
This is what I'm doing.
I was like, you might want to leave now, because I'm about to beat off.
I'm about to bust.
Well, what they did do...
It's really only being weird. It's weird being there at the end. Yeah. If they're getting to the point, who cares? You can walk through.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be there when you finish.
In the Borden
Look at
house,
the faces you're making.
In the Borden house, they have a rule. If the sheet's up, don't interrupt.
They would actually lock their doors. All their...
They're like, hey, I need to go to I need to go to my room. Yeah, and they're like, sorry, I'm beating it.
Well, not to mention those old-timey locks. You just look through the keyhole. It's like Game of Thrones in there.
Yeah. And I'll get to kind of why they lock the doors in a weird way. But on the bottom floor, there's basically an entryway in the first part of the house. Then there's the stairs that go up. And then if you keep going straight, then there's the sitting room where there's a couch. And if you turned left at the very beginning of the house, you're in the parlor. And then...
Which is also a different kind of sitting room.
It's also a different kind of sitting room.
You're like, this is my other sitting room.
Yeah. Because there's not much else to do.
They didn't have TVs then.
Yeah, you just sat down.
Yeah.
What you do now is you put a TV and a PlayStation in there. And now it's...
Now it's the only room.
Yeah. Or a den.
Yeah, den.
Family room.
A man cave.
Rumpus room.
Oh,
Rumpus room.
Yeah.
Playroom.
Playroom.
That's where the kids play.
Yeah. And then there was the dining room just in front of the parlor. And then behind that was the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And there was a side entrance that they called the back door as well. And there were stairs that went up to the master bedroom up on top.
I'm going to need to see some blueprints. Those exist?
I have them, yeah.
Oh, I can look them up myself.
Do you want to see them
real
quick?
Yes.
And if you are on our Discord, which you can get access to for $1 a month through Patreon, you will be able to see the blueprints when Jerry posts that.
Or you can Google them for free.
You can Google them yourself as well.
But don't do that. Give us $1, come check
Sounds
it out.
Sounds exhausting. Oh, yeah, so Emma did have to go.
How many fainting couches are there?
Oh, well, he's on one. They all have a fainting. All the sitting rooms and the parlors.
Regular couch, fainting
The dining
couch.
room. They don't eat in the dining room. They eat in the kitchen, but they do sit in the dining room. So it's actually a third sitting room.
Yeah.
Apparently it's an Airbnb now. Or a B&B.
It's a B&B.
Not Airbnb. Regular B&B.
It's a regular B&B. We're going to talk about that at the end,
That's weird as shit.
Okay.
Bloodbath and breakfast.
Oh. Bloodbath and beyond.
What would they even sell there?
Axes.
Yeah.
So the house was set up really strangely. It was hooked up to the gas main, so it had gas, but Andrew took all that out because it was a frivolous waste of money, he thought. Yeah. And it did have running water, but he also took out a lot of that as well, also a waste of money, he thought. So in the basement, there was a water spigot that they used, and that was the only water in the house, was down in the basement. But he could have, during this time, indoor plumbing was becoming more acceptable and more easier to put in. Mm-hmm. But he was like, nah, it's frivolous. It's a waste of money to pay for all that. Yeah, so he took all that out. Like they had chamber pots in this house.
Okay.
So
the good news is nobody got lead poisoning from the lead line pipes at the time.
Yeah, right.
Didn't live long enough for that.
Yeah. He's like, I won't trouble myself with dying of lead poisoning.
Yeah. I got bigger fish to fry. The Borden family did own the family mansion up on the hill, but they didn't live there. They rented it out to have more income.
It was too nice.
Yeah, and actually he sort of gave that to Emma and Lizzie to collect rent money from.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of nice.
Well, they were like, why don't we just live there? We'd rather live there.
Why don't we rent out this house, live in the cooler house?
Right. And they eventually... something happened and they eventually sold it back to their father. So he owned all of it now, But there was some animosity there. Something was going on there. And also, it's not like Emma and Lizzie could go live there, because Victorian women, if you were unmarried, you didn't live by yourself. You know what I mean? You had to have a man living there. That's just the way they thought of it.
Or you live with your good friend.
Yeah. So Lizzie, she was also a spinster. Her and Emma were spinsters. She was 32. Lizzie was 32. Her sister was 41.
Oh.
It's crazy to think, how many people, how many women of the day, you couldn't do a lot of jobs, but you could be a DJ if you didn't get married. Just spinning the wheels of steel, throwing on records.
See where you're spinning.
Hip-hop, electronic, whatever they had back in the day. Craft work, it was a while ago. So.
Oh, spinster.
Yeah, they're spinning.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
It's a funny joke. Let's move on.
It was good.
But yeah, there was some animosity that had to do with money in that house, and a lot of people don't really know exactly what it is, because they didn't talk about their problems outside of their own home. But it had something to do with money. And all these people were like, oh yeah, money with that family, it's something. And Lizzie, they didn't eat together. They didn't eat dinner together. Lizzie would go up and eat in her room. They didn't talk to each other. I told you they didn't eat in the dining room. Yeah. They weren't close necessarily, but they got along well enough, if that makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there was a prevailing thought, even though Andrew didn't have a will, and there's no evidence that he actually had a written will, there was a prevailing thought that Lizzie and Emma were worried that Andrew was going to leave all of his money, or a big portion of his money, to Abby instead of them.
Yeah, I would.
So there's increased resentment there. Mm-hmm.
That's such I don't know. That's what you did back then. Is you mulled over who was going to get what when father passed away.
Yeah.
Tuberculosis, most likely.
Almost.
Or lead poisoning. But,
or cholera.
Yeah.
From all the gross water you're drinking.
Or adult polio.
Yeah. Or typhoid.
Yeah.
Or the war.
Or the
war. Yeah.
Musket wounds.
Yeah. The family did have an Irish maid named Bridget Sullivan that they called Maggie. Mm-hmm. And the reason why they called her Maggie is because that was the name of their last Irish maid, and they just kept calling her Maggie.
Like, I don't got time to remember.
I'm not remembering your fucking name. I'm calling you Maggie because you're a fucking Irish woman. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the way they looked at it.
Yeah. They're racist, but they like to keep it casual.
She didn't seem to mind too much, but what else could she do? Yeah. She lived in the attic room. Much like Mary Mallon, Typhoid Mary, she moved to America without knowing a single soul and became a housekeeper. Mm-hmm. You know. And
she also made food, handled raw chicken with her bare poopy hands and got everybody sick again and again and again.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're more right than you know.
It was the style at the time.
Yeah. Now, some say that Lizzie was prone to mood swings and that she could pop off and, start yelling and stuff. Some said that.
She's a swinging dame in more ways than one.
She also took after her father. Her father wasn't exactly well liked. He was kind of a vicious landlord who would evict you no matter what if you didn't pay up.
Oh, you're that guy everybody hates. He's like, oh, no, I'm Mr. Borden.
Yeah. Goodness me, no.
I'm Mr. Burns.
Yeah. That's how he was, because he had like a farm that he owned sort of a ways away, and he would get eggs from there, and as he was going around collecting rent, he would also sell eggs, and that just sort of gives you a microcosm.
Would you like an egg in this trying time?
Yeah. Yeah, and then he would charge you for it, of course.
It'll be a nickel.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's outrageous.
Yeah. But Lizzie took after him a little bit. She was blunt. She was direct in her manner of speech.
Rude.
Some people would consider that rude in these days, in back in those days. Lizzie had also been raising pigeons in the barn, and Andrew was killing them for meat, for food.
Mm. And delicious pigeon meat.
Yeah. And this is how cheap this guy
is rich.
He's rich. Yeah.
He's like, give me more of them sky rats.
He's like, I'm not paying for food when we got these perfectly good pigeons.
Yeah. And he may have chopped their heads off with a hatchet, or he wrung their necks.
Don't throw those heads away. Those are good heads. They got some meat in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We scrape that meat off.
Yeah.
But Lizzie may have been attached to them. She was raising them. So that could have been further resentment towards her father. Yeah. There's a lot of unknowns, because in those days you didn't go around telling everybody your home problems.
Yeah,
you know
it was
what I mean?
before Facebook.
Yeah.
You're telling me that they didn't all have journals where they chronicled their resentments?
No. They were very private people.
That's shocking.
Isn't it? Yeah. They're very private people. They didn't have any journals or write. Very reclusive, too. And that'll only get worse. Now, in the days before the events of August 4th, Andrew had mentioned that all was not well in his household, but he didn't elaborate further. He was like, something's not right. Something's not going on. And people were like, okay, sorry.
Something is amiss.
Yes. There was actually a daylight burglary in their house, in which Andrew's desk had been rummaged through, but little was missing. A little bit of money, I think like a pocket watch or something was also missing. And so they started locking their doors. And when the cops showed up and they started investigating, Andrew abruptly wanted to drop the investigation and told them to go away. And they're like, all right. And he started locking his door. And what he did, too, and this is super weird, he would take the key to his door and leave it in plain sight, in the bottom floor of the house, so you could see the key. It's almost more symbolic than anything. He wanted somebody to know that he was locking the door, and he's putting the key there. You know what I mean?
I think he put it there, but then it was line of sight with his telescope. So in between looking at the bank, he could look at the key.
Yeah. But yeah, they would also lock their house from the inside, right? So while you were there, you would lock the doors.
So you could trap the burglars.
Yeah, in there with you. Yeah. It was just a different time. You know what I mean? And these people were definitely a little bit more on edge for whatever reason.
If you trap the burglar inside the house, it goes from them burgling you to you getting a free burlap sack with a $ sign on it. Keep your savings in there.
That's what this is for.
Yeah.
Now, and Lizzie had also mentioned to a friend that she was worried that someone might try to hurt her father in some way. And there's different speculation that goes with this. And we'll see later. Some say that, well, that's Lizzie trying to cover for her future events, for what she was about to do. Who knows? But it's curious she mentioned it.
Is there argument, is there speculation or some kind of inconsistency in whether or not the murders were premeditated or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. How premeditated, too, is also a point of speculation as well.
She's been planning this murder since day one.
Now, there had been a man that Lizzie didn't recognize show up to their house, and he got in a heated conversation with Andrew in the sitting room. And in those days, when somebody came over and started talking business, the women were told to leave the room. And most women of the time just knew to leave the room.
They knew their place.
Jesus Christ. Because you can't hear... What would that do to you if you heard the family business or family financial situation?
Start thinking about numbers, start coming up with their own proposals on ways that you can really drive revenue in the third quarter, and everything falls apart.
Yeah, next thing you know, witchcraft.
Yeah, next thing you know, it's a hostile takeover.
Yeah.
Selling eggs.
Yeah. So Lizzie didn't know what it was about, but it was some sort of heated conversation. And there were multiple reports of some dude hanging around the Borden house that was not familiar, that the neighbors said that they saw. They saw this guy hanging around there.
That's so crazy that someone could just hang around your house.
Yeah.
And, it's not immediately, if there was just some guy hanging out outside my house, eating sunflower seeds, looking suspicious, yeah.
Yeah.
The sunflower seeds are where I draw the line.
If he's just throwing the shells on the ground.
Yeah, it's dude, you gotta throw those away somewhere. Put them in a receptacle.
Sunflower seeds. Pass.
I like sunflower
Too much
seeds.
work. For too little gain.
You can get them pre-peeled.
Yeah, they're not good enough.
Just eat them by the handful.
Oh, that's what I like.
Yeah.
Just a handful. You crack them in your mouth. It's sort of a nervous thing.
Yeah.
So there was all this sort of weird shit going on. And in sort of the days previous, the whole family started to get sick. They were puking points during the night, in the morning. And it's because they were eating the same mutton and fish for a few days straight.
And we're living in a pre-refrigeration world.
Yeah. And it's warmed over, you know what I mean? And they're we're puking, and Abby and Andrew and a couple other people were I think we're being poisoned.
Yeah. And by your constituents.
Yeah. And the doctor, Dr. Bowen, who lived across the street, on the day of the murder, Abby went over there and was I think we're being poisoned. And the doctor's what have you been eating? And she told them.
Straight feces.
And
diarrhea.
Yeah. And he's maybe you should just eat something else. It could be just that, old food you've been eating. And
it couldn't be the food we've been eating. It's been sitting there for weeks. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, but they thought maybe their bread or milk had been poisoned because their milk was delivered, and it would get, it sat out front for a while, so it was prone to somebody tampering with it, right?
I put a tea towel over the mutton. It should have kept it fresh.
Yeah. Then Andrew's brother-in-law from his first marriage, John Morse, he shows up unannounced out of the blue with no luggage.
He didn't send a telegram?
No. He shows up out of the blue, no luggage, and he spends the night there. We don't know why he shows up, but it's probably not a coincidence.
Maybe he's just passing through.
Yeah, doubt it, because he moved west to find his fortune, and he did quite well for himself. And then he shows up, he didn't visit often, and he shows up out of the blue and stays in their guest room. And it's
Eats their cereal.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't even tell anyone, just shows up.
Yeah.
Is there somebody in the guest room? Yeah, I've been hearing banging in there for 4 days straight.
Jesus.
I came out east to bang these pots and pans together.
Yeah.
It's a rousing success.
Yeah. He's deranged. No. He was sort of a shady kind of dude in a lot of ways, but mysterious also.
Who wasn't in those days?
Yeah. Now, August 4th, the timeline goes like this. So at 6:15 a.m., Bridget wakes up, goes downstairs. She gets the coal and the wood from the cellar, starts a fire on the kitchen stove.
You mean Maggie?
Yes, I mean Maggie. Bridget Sullivan.
I was like, who the fuck is Bridget?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Maggie, the servant.
She takes in the milk, she does all that. She's getting everything going for breakfast, right? 6:20, Morse goes downstairs into the sitting room, okay? And
Have a sit.
He's sitting.
To sit. He's sitting down.
He's like, yeah. After I'm done sitting, I'm going to go sit in the parlor.
Change of scenery. At 6:30 a.m., Abby comes downstairs, and she gives orders to Bridget for breakfast. She's like, all right, now you cook this and cook that. And it's like some Johnny
breakfast
cakes.
Maggie!
Yeah. It's like some Johnny cakes. But yeah, it was same old mutton and Johnny cakes and shit like that.
Maggie, I wish to have diarrhea this morning.
Yeah.
Fire
get
up
on
the
it.
breakfast.
Yeah.
Yes.
And somewhere between 6:40 and 6:50, Andrew goes downstairs. He empties his chamber pot.
He empties his bowels.
Into the breakfast.
Just outside. Outside, he dumps it out outside.
Yeah.
He picks up some pears. They had some pears outside. And he goes to the barn, right? 6:45, Bridget opens the back door, for the Iceman, who is delivering ice.
Oh, the Iceman.
Yeah.
Who had an axe on him.
And murdered all of them.
Yeah. He's known for his warm demeanor. It's more of an ironic thing.
Actually, I'm a very nice person.
Yeah. I bring you ice.
I bring the ice every day.
And I'm into this thing called rap music.
At 7 a.m., the Bordens of Ann Morse have breakfast in the dining room. Lizzie's still upstairs at this point. Emma is actually away. She's in a place called Fairhaven, which is about 15 miles away. She's staying with friends. And I guess she did this often just to kind of get away from her family.
Yeah, I get
because
it.
she was just kind of
They
washing...
sound like the worst.
Yeah, she was kind of washing her hands of it a little bit.
At least somebody's washing their hands in the house.
7:15, Bridget sees Morse for the first time. She didn't see him come in that night on the day before. She sees him for the first time at the table.
Sitting.
As he does.
And then Bridget eats her breakfast and then starts clearing the dishes. 7:45 to 8:45, within that hour, Morse and Andrew talk in the sitting room. And then Abby...
Sitting while talking.
Abby gets up from her seated position and starts to dust around the house.
This is not a standing and dusting room.
No. And they talk. They talk about something.
Stuff men talk about. Business, finances.
Cigars.
John Morse mentions that
Whiskey.
he's going to leave the house. He's going to visit some family members on the other side of town and then come back. And Andrew tells him to be back by dinner, and we'll have dinner ready for you.
Ring the ding 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 dinner bell.
Yeah. And at 8:45, Andrew lets Morse out the side back door and says, see you at dinner time, right? And he's off.
Yeah.
See you at dinner time, folks, anyway.
He's like, I will be leaving now.
Yeah.
Champagne bottle on his horse's face, hops on and rides away.
You got a christen it.
As was the style of the time.
Yeah. At 8:45 to 9, Andrew goes back upstairs, gets dressed, and he comes back down. And he's all dressed up to go out that day. He goes into the sitting room. Abby tells Bridget to wash the windows, inside and out, both sides. Now, it is a hot day, friends. It is a very hot day. It is August. It's hot inside the house.
They don't have air conditioning.
Yeah. And people walking by that day were like, wow, that maid is washing windows on this hot-ass day. That sucks, you know. But what are you going to do?
Back then, if it was hot, you just dealt with it. If it was cold, you just dealt with it. You just dealt with it.
Yeah, you dealt with a lot of shit.
You get driven to madness by hypothermia.
Yeah. At 8:45 to 8:50, somewhere in there, Lizzie comes down and enters the kitchen. Right? So she walks through and enters the kitchen. Bridget is outside puking at this point.
From breakfast.
Yep. Couldn't hold anything down.
Couldn't keep it down.
Could not.
Just puked up my breakfast. Now I'm hungry again. Can you make me some more out of that breakfast?
Give me some more mutton.
Yeah. Lizzie just has a couple of cookies and some coffee. She's not feeling breakfast. She's also sick. They're all pretty sick.
I don't know what it is about that mutton, but it's furry, and I keep vomiting violently whenever I
don't know what it is. It was fine the last 3 days.
I eat it, and then an hour later I'm hungry again, but that's because I puked it up.
And puked it all back up.
Yeah.
I'm very dehydrated from vomiting and diarrhea.
Diarrhea.
The diarrhea, and I can't keep water down. So
and I look great in all my outfits. Very, very trim, very, very...
Very heroin chic.
Yeah. Got the bags under my eyes because I haven't been really sleeping too well either. That's how it related to the food. It's more about my nightmares of it.
I want you to know that during the inquest, after the events of this day, Lizzie gave inconsistent testimony. There's reasons for this, but she gave inconsistent testimony, so sometimes this story gets a little fucked up.
It's her first murder. First double homicide. I mean, what do you expect?
Now at 9 o'clock, Andrew leaves the house. He's going to go and run his errands.
He fucks off.
Yep. At that same time, Bridget returns inside. She doesn't see Lizzie, but she sees Abby dusting in the dining room. Doesn't see Andrew leave. Okay? She comes in different, when you come in a different door, there's no hallways, so it's pretty easy to miss somebody, right? Yeah. Which is intriguing. Now, Abby goes up to the guest bedroom at 9 a.m., around that time. That's the last time she is seen alive. Now, 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Bridget starts to clean up the dining room from all the breakfast dishes. And she's in the kitchen sort of cleaning all that stuff up.
Scrapes it into a dirty cauldron so there's food for lunch.
Yeah. So she can boil all that up.
Yeah.
So the thing is between the times of 9 and 10 a.m., Andrew is seen out and about, right? And so is John Morse. So they both have, like that... People can definitely place them at certain points in the town, right? So John Morse has a rock-solid alibi. He even remembers absurd details. He remembers the patch on, the train conductor. He rode a streetcar. And, he remembers the patch on the guy's head. He remembers what number it was, which is crazy.
Sounds like he remembers a little too much.
Yeah, see?
The number was 69, so it was pretty hard to forget. And he got on the trolley and was like, nice.
He's like, I couldn't stop giggling on the trolley, and then they kicked me off the trolley for giggling. And in these days, nobody knew what the term 69 meant.
No.
Maybe they did, I don't know.
He found out about it out on the West Coast.
Oh, yeah, where they...
Everyone's just...
Double oral all the time.
Tops and tails.
Yeah.
Out there, just nonstop, in the middle of the street. It's pretty dope.
It's the California way.
Yeah. Now, around 9:30 a.m., Bridget gets a brush from the cellar for washing windows. And Lizzie appears at the back door as Bridget's going towards the barn. And Bridget tells Lizzie not to lock the door. Because, basically, if you're going out, no need to lock the door, I'll be here. And Lizzie goes, well, if you go out, you need to lock the door because I might not be here. So there's there's a little back and forth in the morning about, all right, you going out? Am I going out? When are you going out? I don't know. We'll lock the door if you go out, kind of a deal.
It's I'm Lizzie Borden, and let me tell you about my house. We do things a little bit differently around here. That's my time. I'm going to go murder my parents.
From 9:30 to 10:20 a.m., Bridget washes the outside windows. She actually talks with the other servant girl over the fence of the other house.
Also named Maggie.
She was named... they called the Kelly girl. Another Irish maid.
Yeah. It's because the last servant was named Kelly.
Yeah, and they're just like, forget it.
I gotta remember a whole new name every fucking time?
Yeah.
She's like, I'm actually Kelly. The Kelly girl 4.
Yeah. I'm Kelly 4.
I don't think they ever had a Kelly.
Yeah. "Oh, you Irish or Maggies or Kellys or some shit like that." I'm sure that's what they were saying too. Now, Mrs. Churchill, she lived next door to the Bordens. She actually saw Bridget outside washing the windows, so she could definitely place Bridget outside washing the windows from 10 to 10:30.
So got some good window washing.
Well, she was like, Jesus, it's hot out. She's like, damn.
That sucks.
That's nuts, yeah. Now, 10:20, Bridget re-enters the house from the side door and starts washing them from the inside, right? Rough business. Around 10:30, 10:40 a.m., Andrew gets back to the house after going to the bank. He went to a couple of different places. And
he went to the stock market to go look at the ticker.
Yeah.
And shake around some things, shake around some paper.
Some ticker tape or something.
Yeah, and he goes, no, that won't do. That won't do at all. Sell. Buy.
Yeah. That damn Cleveland in the White House. Yeah. Something. He gets back and he can't get into the side door because it's locked. Interesting.
Yeah.
So he goes up to the front, but he kind of fumbles with his key. Turns out the front door is sort of jammed, and Bridget forces it open to let him in. And I guess she cursed or something. And then Bridget... Yeah. Bridget remembers it because she says that she could hear Lizzie giggle about her cursing from the upstairs landing. Now, Lizzie said that during this time she was ironing her handkerchiefs. She had to wash her handkerchiefs because you're always spitting the muck in them back in these days.
You gotta love it.
So you gotta wash them, you gotta iron them, all that. But her irons, her flats, went cold. So she was like, shit, do I heat them back up? Yeah,
this whole thing.
But she's either on the upstairs landing or in the dining room ironing, right?
Yeah.
And it's a little curious because that's kind of far apart, right?
Yeah.
So that's like our first big discrepancy here.
How do you heat up the iron? You gotta take them down to like the furnace?
Sit them on the stove.
Okay.
Sit them on the stove.
Let them get piping hot.
Yeah, and then you grab them with like a big towel or something, and
you gotta, and
because they're hot.
And then you gotta make sure that you're ironing the right handkerchiefs because you got the ones for up above and you got the ones for down below. And you don't want to get them mixed up.
Oh goodness gracious, no!
Oh, these are my down below ones.
That's how you get pink eye.
Yeah.
Or typhoid.
Yeah. You get the poop.
Yeah.
The poop in you.
Yeah, you got
the wrong place.
That boy's got the poop in him.
Yeah. You're wiping the corners of your mouth like a dainty gal with the hanky that you use for your butthole.
Yeah.
That's another way to get all pukey. We're a classy show.
A lot of poop and pee jokes as we're going on.
Yeah. Well, we work with what we get.
Yes. So 10:45 to 10:55, Lizzie puts the ironing board on the dining room table as Bridget is finishing her last window in the dining room, right? So it's just sort of skewed, right? Lizzie asks Bridget in the kitchen if she's going out again, and then tells her, this is 10:45, 10:55, that Abby got a note saying that someone was sick and that she was going out to visit them. Right? Now, this note has never been found. We don't know who gave her that note. We don't know where the note was. The note's, again, it's sort of a mystery. It's a big question mark, this note. Okay?
If any of you guys have that note, take a picture and send it to historyboispodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to see it.
I'm sick. Written in color crayon.
Yeah.
I better be out. So they assumed, all of them assumed now that Abby was out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Little did they know that within that past hour, 9 to 10, Abby was dead in a pool of her own blood in the guest bedroom. From multiple wounds to the head.
With an axe. Nice.
Yeah. 10:55. There's a guy that's going by the house that sees an open buggy parked sort of right near the Borden house. You know, a buggy with a horse.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
It was Roosevelt.
It's weird. There's an empty, open buggy just sitting there, right? Weird. Around 10:55, Bridget tells Lizzie that she's going to go upstairs, take a little bit of a nap. She's not feeling well.
She just guest bedroom, and Lizzie's like, no.
No, she's going up to her bedroom in the attic. And when
But it's hot up there.
Oh, yeah. So 10:55, 10:58, Bridget goes up to her room and lays down in her bed. And she says that she hears the clock chime from the town. The town clock go bing 11 times, right? Saying it was 11 o'clock.
Okay.
So that's how she makes sense of this timeline. She could be wrong. It could be an honest mistake, or she could be lying.
Full of shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what she has to gain from any of this. Well, I'll kind of make sense of all this after I'm done. Mm-hmm. Keep all this in mind. A Russian immigrant, Hyman Lubinsky.
Hyman?
Yes, Hyman Lubinsky.
Nice. It's just a funny word.
I know. He was an ice cream man. And he was driving down the street, and he said that he saw a weird-looking dude walking around with, like, a hat on. He was dressed weird, like, dressed in, like, black shabby clothes.
He's from the future.
And he smelled bad.
Oh, yeah.
And
time travel makes you smell like shit. Everyone knows that.
And he goes, even for the time, this Russian immigrant ice cream man, like, even, like, turned around and was like,
it smells like shit.
Yeah, this guy smells terrible.
Turns out it was Rasputin.
Yeah.
I don't believe
from the
him.
future.
I don't believe him just simply by the fact that the hymen isn't real. It's a construct of the patriarchy, and so he doesn't actually exist.
Oh my god, Tyler.
It was actually him. He killed them.
Yeah.
He's Rasputin. He's Russian.
Yeah.
Couldn't hide the accent, so he went with a different...
And he saw this guy from somewhere between 11:05 and 11:10. Mm-hmm. And then around 11:10, Lizzie enters the sitting room where Andrew Borden was going to sit down. What she says earlier, he was going to sit down and have a nap on the couch, right? Uh-huh. And he even, like, took off his shoes and, like, put on his home, like, walk around the house shoes.
Yeah. His sitting shoes.
Yes, exactly. And she says that she saw him do this, and then she went out to the barn where she ate some pears, and then went into the barn, and she was looking for pieces of iron to make sinkers for the next time she goes fishing, even though she hasn't been fishing in like 5 years.
She's like, I'm thinking about going fishing.
Yeah. So she goes out there and she's looking for these things for, she doesn't know, anywhere between 15 minutes to a half an hour.
How many people eat pears in the barn? It seems like...
That's where, like, they had their pear. They were silly with pears. All the characters at some point in this story eat pears.
In the barn.
Or somewhere outside, around the barn.
Around the barn.
Around the back of the house, right?
I was trying to kick it at my house this weekend. We can sit in the barn and eat pears.
That's about it.
we can sit in one of the rooms. You guys brought indoor shoes. We could sleep on some of the sitting couches. And I know they're sitting couches, but we like to live dangerously around.
Yeah, sometimes we get a little naughty and we take a little nap on those sitting couches.
Yeah. So sometime around 11:10, Lizzie re-enters the sitting room from being out there, and that's where she says she's been. And she comes back in and she sees her father dead on the couch. And this is like a fresh kill. He is dripping. And his face is obliterated. Like, I've accidentally seen crime scene footage from this. And holy shit.
If you, I already did this because I Googled what she looked like. It's like the first image that comes up.
Yeah.
I can see it here. I'm looking at it right now.
It's obliterated.
So they, like, just invented cameras, and they're like, you gotta, like, stay completely still and really stare at it for a long time, and the crime scene photographer is like, why did I have to be the one guy in town who figured out how to use this new invention? 'Cause I gotta stare at this, like...
No, I have to.
Yeah, I gotta stare at this guy's obliterated face for, like, 15 minutes while, like, camera takes a picture.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have to worry about, the subject moving and blurring up the photo. So.
Yeah, well, whenever there's pictures taken of Victorian people, and, like, they're blurry, and, like, the one person in the photo's not blurry, it's because that person's dead.
Yeah.
And they took pictures of dead people back then. Or, like, a baby that's very still... That's a dead baby.
But they used to have those things where the woman would have the
veil over to make it look like no one's there.
The character from that Resident Evil is based off that concept.
Indeed. So she yells. Someone has killed father. She hollers for Bridget to come down, and Bridget, like, wakes up. She's barely closed her eyes. She wakes up. She runs down, and she sees it. She runs across the street to go get Dr. Bowen across the street.
Can somebody call a medic?
Yeah. Medic. And, when Bridget runs across the street to get the doctor's wife is there. She's like, the doctor's not here right now. But she runs over. And
Good enough.
Mrs. Churchill, who's outside, she's like, what's going on? And, Lizzie's like, come over, my dad's just been murdered. Which I think is super weird because it's like...
Hell yeah.
Look
don't
how
invite...
murdered he is. How did this happen, guys?
Don't invite someone over to a crime scene, first of all. And if somebody does invite you over to a crime scene, don't go.
Yeah. Don't implicate yourself in the murder
timeline. You guys want to see a dead body? I've already seen that one.
Yeah, I've seen that one. From there, things kind of start unraveling. Mm-hmm. So Lizzie, once Bridget comes back, right, and Mrs. Bowen is, going to get her husband now, Lizzie asks Bridget to go get Alice Russell, who's on the other side of them. That's Lizzie's best friend. Yeah. She lives she's the neighbor on the other side. Yeah. So Mrs. Churchill's on this side, and Alice Russell's on this side.
Okay.
So the nosy one, Churchill?
Churchill's the nosy one.
The nosy one. So
they're all nosy.
Yeah. So she runs over to get Alice Russell. By this point, people are starting to show up. This is a big event. A double homicide is the number one thing that's ever happened to anybody.
It's the social event of the season. They're all showing up in tuxedos. It's like the Met Gala.
Yeah. People quit working that day and just went and stood around the house. Yeah. There was 2,000 people standing around their house when it was all said and done.
You know that there are people who are like, a boat is launching from the harbor and there's a double homicide and I can't do both.
Well, I've seen a boat before.
Yeah.
It's I never miss a boat.
I've seen a stabbing. Oh, it's not a stabbing, it's an axe murder. Oh, this I gotta see.
That's a step up.
I'm gonna get a picture with their corpses.
Yeah.
It is a sitting room, after all. Yeah. You can sit while they take your picture for 15 minutes.
Yeah. The marshal shows up, a couple of officers show up, and, they're like, call everybody, get them all down here, and it's kind of bedlam for a little bit, and, they're just sort of, sitting down with Lizzie, and they're like...
Got the space for it.
Is everything okay,
I got many rooms for it.
She's like, I don't know what's going on, and, the one thing that, everyone is noticing is there's not any blood on Lizzie. She's, not covered in blood.
Clean as a whistle.
And the thing is to do what had been done to Andrew, you would have been covered in blood. They hit the carotid artery.
Oh, yeah.
And it would have... And it did. It sprayed everywhere. It was all over the...
Quite the jet spray.
Yeah, it was all over the place. And she would have had blood on her. She didn't have any blood on her. And there's no weapon. There's no axe around. And they're like, hey, Lizzie, do you know where Abby is? And she's like, I thought she went out. She got a note earlier saying that she was going out. And she said that she had to go out. This was between Abby and Lizzie, so there's no way to confirm that. Mm-hmm. They're like, is she here? It's like, I don't know. She might be here. Bridget, who doesn't want to go upstairs by herself at this point.
Yeah, this is in the guest room, which is kind of not...
Yeah. She goes up...
Lizzie's like, I don't know. Maybe she's here. Maybe she's in the guest bedroom. Maybe she's not. I don't know. I
maybe she's murdered in the guest bedroom.
Yeah. So...
How would I know?
Bridget and Mrs. Churchill go up to the guest bedroom. And on the other side of the bed, basically, when you first get up, if you open the door, there's a bed, and then on the other side of that bed, Abby is laying down. She had been struck in the head with an axe 19 to 20 times.
So they doubled that for the poem.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was...
For the rhyme.
It's gnarly. So the first slash was across her face. She was looking at whoever it was before she had been hit. And it caused her to whirl around and then hit on the floor. And they know that she was still alive when she had that initial hit because there was bruising on the front of her face.
Yeah.
And the person, whoever it was, after that, proceeded to just boom, boom, like a bunch of times, 18 more times into the back of her head. Again, blood has got to be everywhere.
Hey, right? Paul, try getting a reservation at Dorsey and
Do you like Huey Lewis in the News?
I always thought it was really weird that his name was Paul Allen.
I know, Paul Owen in the book. I don't know why they changed it to Paul Allen for the movie.
That's so weird.
Which, quick side note, I read an article...
They could have named him Bill Gates.
It was an anniversary thing for...
American Psycho, if people at
For
home
American Psycho. And I guess every actor, like Justin Theroux and Josh Lucas, were talking about how they all made fun of Christian Bale because they were like, I don't think I think he might be the worst actor we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And,
really?
Yeah, and because Christian Bale and the director talked about Mary Harron is her name, I believe.
Yeah.
Either way, they had talked and they're like, we want him to be played as if he's like a space alien who came to Earth and was like trying
in a human suit.
Yeah. And so like they didn't get it until
the pieces
but then during the fucking business card scene, they all like huddled afterward. They're like, did you notice that he starts sweating at the exact same moment every single take? And that's when they started to
that's impressive.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
How do you control that?
You be Christian Bale, I guess.
He is a good actor.
You're an amazing actor, yeah.
He would also be a great Lizzie Borden. Really disappeared in the role.
Yeah, he would.
And Gary Oldman also.
Yeah.
In Batman.
Yeah.
Batman and James Gordon.
Murdering their parents. He's like, I'm going to make myself Batman this time.
We're going to switch roles. Anyway,
that's total side.
Sorry. Now, Andrew was... You can see pictures of his skull, too.
Close up?
It's gone. Like, the front of his face is all torn away.
Because I've seen the one picture that's kind of the full shot.
Yeah.
And, I mean...
It's unrecognizable.
It's a mess.
It's a mess.
I don't need to get in closer.
Yeah.
Looks like a bolognese, pasta bolognese.
Yeah.
From his posture, and this is another weird part, is it looks like he wasn't laying down on the couch like Lizzie said he was. It actually looks like he was sitting up and then hit across the face and then multiple times, right? And
it wasn't
because of the way he's slouched over like that, it looks like he was sitting up, not laying down.
Interesting.
It's interesting. And I'll kind of get into some theories later about why all of this is this way.
I can't not imagine Lizzie Borden moonwalking out with a raincoat behind her.
Yeah, Huey Lewis.
Yeah.
Bridget and Mrs. Churchill find Abby and they come back down. They're like, she's dead too. And like the cops are like, fuck, dude. So like they, direct quote, but they go up, they go upstairs. And what they find...
Fuck, dude.
Yeah.
It's like The Wire.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they go up and they notice a crucial detail.
That there's a dead body there.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to miss.
But that it's coagulated. She had definitely been killed much earlier than Andrew. Andrew was fresh. He was dripping still. Abby, it was clotting, right? Okay. The blood was clotting around her.
That was
she was killed first.
The peak of forensic evidence at the time. They were like,
honestly, I'm kind of impressed.
Honestly, it goes a little deeper than that.
Yeah, fingerprints.
They had certain things to tell if there was blood or not on something. So, there's that.
You could tell it. Blood sitting around was kind of a common thing in those days, I imagine.
Oh, this here blood. Now, I'm a blood expert. It's like, what college to go to? It's like, you don't have to go to college to be a blood expert.
I went to the school of hard knocks. And a lot of those knocks hit the carotid.
And actually, the medical examiner was passing by. Yeah, he was passing by.
He did.
And sure, like, the cops are like, get in here, man. And he's like, holy shit.
What is that? Is there a double homicide in there?
Yeah.
It was this guy.
Yeah. I was chasing that Russian ice cream man, but I guess I'll come and check this out.
There's actually a theory that Dr. Bowen did it.
Oh.
Because it's a bonkers story. Well, see, he was gone at the time of the discovery of the murder, right? And then he shows back up later, right?
Yeah.
So maybe he escaped, cleaned himself up, and then came back around, right?
Yeah. He did it.
And no one would suspect a doctor of murder because their clothes are always covered in blood.
Yeah.
In fact, it's the first time he wasn't covered in blood.
Yeah. But the cops noticed that the front door was actually, again, locked from the inside. Which is weird. And the fact that Lizzie came in through the back door after she was in the barn...
Nice.
Which was locked when...
The fact that she came back in through the back door, if somebody was escaping through the back door, she would have seen them. At least you would have thought she would have seen them. Because that's the only way out.
They're still in the house.
Or they're still in the house. But no, they searched that house top to bottom.
She's like, I didn't see a shrub walk by.
Yeah. These two kids actually saw a guy around there booking it. Like, not running, but leaving in a hurry. And the way they always describe this mystery man is always the same. He's wearing dark clothing. He has a hat pulled down below his face.
And he stank.
And he stank. And some people say he had a cleaver or a hatchet on him, on his person, as he was going by.
It was Rasputin. From the future.
His name is Sneaky McVillainy. He's a bad guy.
He's twirling his mustache. He was late to...
Murdering Murphy.
He knew the train was a-coming and he had to get somebody tied onto those tracks.
Yeah. So the cops are now, they're starting to, trying to make sense of this whole situation. They notice there's no blood on Lizzie. That's a problem, because she's suspect number one. Yeah. Because there's 2 people in that house, besides the 2 that are murdered. There's Bridget Sullivan, who is upstairs at the time, and there's Lizzie. And from the second Dr. Bowen gets there, he gives Lizzie a dose of morphine to calm her nerves.
Yeah, she's hysterical.
Right? Medical science, they say it's come a long way. I think it's taken a couple steps back.
Well, the cops are like, wow, she wasn't being hysterical. Which is odd.
Because she's always not hysterical.
Well, women are supposed to be.
Yeah.
They're supposed to faint, and they're supposed to do all these things, Victorian women. Yeah. And also, she wasn't that.
He gave her morphine. As if she was being hysterical.
Exactly.
They're like, well, that was weird.
Yeah. So she got morphine, so maybe that's why she wasn't being hysterical. And, the cops instantly start questioning her, which would probably piss you off if you just found your dad murdered, right? Yeah. One of their first questions is do you know anyone who would want to kill your father and mother? And she goes, she's my stepmother, not my mother. And they're like, you just jumped to number 1 on the old suspect list.
That being said, what a stepmother.
Yeah, right, And what a stepmother she was.
Rolling back to number 2. Sounds like they had a great relationship.
Next thing she did, or the cops did, was ask if Andrew kept a axe or hatchet around the house. She was like, yeah, down in the cellar, down in the basement, there was. So
it's
Bridget...
not my axe, it's my step axe.
So Bridget takes the cops down there, and they find a few axes.
Those are lousy with axes.
They found one that had blood on it, and hair. And they were like, ooh. And then another one that was in a box. The top was broken off. It's not like it was just the head of an axe. It's like the handle was still in, but the handle was broken. So they had two things that they could look at, right, as far as the murder weapon goes. That's it. They just had those 2 there.
There's a pile of axes. Oh, yeah. That's good, too.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, well, here's, I guess, one of our murder weapons, I guess. They didn't suspect Lizzie right away, but they were just sort of scratching their heads. They were like, she's not covered in blood. It couldn't be her. And then she said she was out in the barn during this time. If it was somebody else, she must have just missed them, right? Just missed them. Somehow. And the thing is the way the timeline pans out, if Lizzie did do all of those things in the way she said, it is not physically possible for her to also commit murder, change out of her clothes, go back down to these other places in that allotted time frame, and then commit another murder. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then change again and hide
a ninja assassin.
So there's no way.
She would have been seen between the 2 murders.
Oh yeah. And the thing is okay. So the axe is in the basement. So she had to go all the way around the house, get the axe, come all the way back up, all the way upstairs to kill Abby, change, which actually would have been the easy part because it's right next to her room, hide the axe again, or keep it off, something hiding the axe. No one ever saw her change that day. Bridget was there the whole time. Although she was in and out, she probably wasn't paying attention a lot, but still, she was there the whole time. She didn't hear Abby being murdered, although she heard the laugh, which is odd. We still don't really know what the laugh was, if that was in fact Lizzie, or maybe someone else.
Maybe Lizzie dressed as the ne'er-do-well, did the crimes, and then ditched the outfit, put back on her normal clothes, because the blood got on her ne'er-do-well clothes, which were black, to hide the blood.
Right. Well, she was wearing a blue dress, And it was a nice dress.
But even if she changed her clothes, there would have been bloody clothes around.
There would have been bloody clothes around, right? Now let me get to that. But she would have had to do that twice. That is if the barn trip did happen, right? Mm-hmm. Which she says happened. Although her time frame's skewed a little bit.
And did anybody see her go out to the barn and back? Or is that just what she said?
That's what she said. But she would have had to take the axe back down to the cellar. Mm-hmm. And then come all the way back up after she was cleaned up and changed again. And then all the way back into the room before she alerts Bridget, right after Bridget went upstairs.
So she would have had to, even if she lied about the garage part, she still would have had to murder her stepmother, change her clothes, get seen, change, get seen, murder her father, change again. Mm-hmm. And just it's still...
Well, think about it this way.
There would be 2 dresses that were covered in blood.
Yeah, when Bridget says she's going to go up for the nap, it's like 10:55, right? She remembers hearing the clock 11. Strike 11, right? So it's right there. And then, basically, you have about, give or take, 10:55 to 11:10, when the murder alarm was raised, for Lizzie to go get the axe, kill her father, clean herself up, put the axe back, and then come back into the room, clean, and raise the alarm. That just isn't physically possible.
Lizzie Borden is Solid Snake.
Yeah, right? Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I did see a cardboard box moving around.
Yeah,
right. I will say that one thing she could have done, she murders her stepmom. Then she's ironing after that. Mm-hmm. She has to use a furnace to heat the iron. She burns the murder weapon, burns her murder clothes, changes into the clean laundry.
Okay, well, the next day, Alice Russell is spending time. Emma comes down. She got the telegram from Fairhaven. Mm-hmm. People said, like, well, what about Emma as a suspect? No, there's no way.
Andrew Morse sent her a telegram, and she came back.
No. Yeah. There's no way. There's no way.
Morse.
Anyway,
his name is Morse, so we keep saying that. It's funny.
She's hanging out with Lizzie and Emma. Lizzie burns a dress. Now, they burned a lot of things back in those days if you considered it useless. Now, this dress had paint on it. Had paint on it.
Red paint.
Yeah.
That smells like blood.
Yeah. No.
High iron content.
Yeah.
Lead-based paint? This is high iron-based paint.
Emma tells her to burn the dress. She goes, it has paint on, it's useless. So she burns it. And then they talk about it and they go, that's probably the worst thing you could have done, burning a dress. That looks suspect right now.
Yeah. He's like, I got you.
Yeah. And Alice, for a while, she keeps quiet about it. But her conscience sort of catches up to her. And she ends up reporting it. And that's what really kicks the whole investigation on Lizzie as a suspect. That's what kicks it off. So, there's that. They search the ashes. There's no axe head, so I don't know if she burned...
Yeah, you can't burn the axe head.
Yeah.
She's not
ate it. She ate the axe head, burnt the hand.
It's like the guy who ate the bus in small enough parts.
Yeah, right. They're like, okay, the funerals happen. The papers, or yellow journalism at the time, they immediately throw Lizzie under the bus.
Exceptionally reliable.
Yeah, immediately they throw Lizzie under the bus. They call for her arrest, and they're like, she's not even wearing mourning black.
Yeah,
but she was, and she did cry at the funeral. Okay, she wasn't publicly. She didn't publicly display her emotions. That's not the Victorian way, right?
Yeah, that's yeah.
You know.
But according to the papers, sex vixen.
Yeah,
Lizzie Borden,
sex fiend.
Yeah, she murdered her parents to get an erotic thrill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and there's something to that.
And she worshipped the devil.
Yeah.
There's a theory that Lizzie and Bridget did it together because they were lesbian lovers.
Oh.
Yes.
Na.
That's very unlikely. Is what I'll say.
Okay.
Are we going to go over theories at one point?
Oh yeah,
I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
because I got a couple, and some of them are harebrained.
Yeah.
Oh, I got some theories. All right, none on this, but I got theories.
Cool.
Now,
Big
racial theories.
No, the axe with the blood and the hair on it. That's probably your number one you would look at, right, for a murder weapon. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh yeah, that's old blood. There's no way it could have been that. It's not human. It's actually bovine. It's from a cow.
Yeah.
The hair is also from a cow.
Yeah, and they got their blood expert who was Also a serial killer.
He was a barber.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he sold meat pies on the side.
Yeah. And the broken one, so they're like, it's the broken one then, you know? But the thing is like, it wasn't a clean break. The defense team, when it actually got down to the case, I'm not going to give you a blow-by-blow of the court case. I want you to read the book and the show notes, the source notes, because it's fascinating, but we're going to be here all day if we talk about the whole case. Anyway, they were like, it's not a clean break, first of all, and we gave it to like our blood expert, and they said
Dexter.
Yeah, they said there's no blood on it. There's no blood on that one. It was covered in dust and ash and stuff. It's not.
It's pristine.
It's not,
despite being broken.
Well, and the medical examiner after the autopsy, which was done on like the tables, like in the house, they like cut their heads off and stuff, and like all this stuff in the house. And
they're like, "Do you want us to go into?" He's like, "No, it's fine. I do this all the time."
Take him into the dining room. That's what they did. They took him into the dining room and did the autopsy there. But the dude was like, "This was done with a new axe." And I guess it left a mark from the mark of like a new axe, a part that would be worn down from using an old one. This one was a new one because that mark was, I guess, pronounced right in the skull.
A new murder axe.
Yeah. So it was a new axe, right? Lizzie may have had the opportunity to buy a new axe. Some people say that she did. Some say there was actually a guy in town. He ran the apothecary shop. He claimed that Lizzie was trying to buy poison from him a couple of days beforehand, and he wouldn't sell it without a prescription.
Without an ID. You get a prescription for poison.
Yeah. I don't know why you need a prescription.
You're like, if your doctor feels you need to murder your parents.
Yeah. But you could just buy poison back in those days. So
it's green and bubbling.
Yeah, she said that she was buying it, or the guy said that she was buying it to kill moths that had been eating away at her capes. And
all my capes.
It's like, it's weird. She said she needed it to kill her step moths.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
I didn't really hear her. I'm hard of hearing, you see.
Yeah.
I was like, you're going to kill your moths? And she goes, no, step moth.
Yeah.
Singular, I guess.
Yeah.
Must be a big moth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of a Mothra situation.
Yeah.
Right after, like, the murders were sort of found, they rounded up the usual suspects, right?
Oh, those guys.
They're like, who is a disgruntled employee of Vander Borden? And all of them were like immigrant workers.
Yeah.
It was like, get that damn Portuguese I saw the other day. And like, they straight up found the dude in like a bar.
Oh, yeah.
And like, they pinned him up against the wall
they
and like
found
questioned him.
Guilty red-handed of being Portuguese.
Yeah. And he had a rock solid alibi. No way it was him. A bunch of other people they rounded up, and nope, not them. Right. So they're like, fuck. You know, like if this isn't Lizzie, I don't know who it is. You know what I mean? Like, who else would it be? You know what I mean? Is sort of how they
a drifter killer,
right? Like, they go to the house after the funeral, and the mayor's there, and
I'm the mayor this year. Yeah.
And a big top hat.
Yeah.
It probably did. But
and
he was
head spun around.
Yeah.
And was also a cheeseburger.
But they're sort of being cagey around Lizzie. She's like, do you guys got any leads? And they're like, yeah, actually, we do. And she's like, who? Tell me the truth. And they're like, actually, I'm sorry, but it's you. And she was like, all right, I'll go now then. I'm ready to go now.
They're like, murderer says what? And she's like,
pardon?
Yeah. Damn, we almost got her.
Yeah, that
would have been rock solid.
Yeah, incriminating confession. So they're like, okay, they brought her in. And for 10 months, she sat in like a holding cell where there was like a matron that sort of kept an eye on her.
Every moment that I'm in the cell, I can't be out there finding the person who murdered my father and my stepmother.
Yes.
I want to make it very clear that she's not my actual mother.
Yeah. So they have the Alice Russell thing, which is like their smoking gun. Like, that's the best evidence they have. Other than that, they have no witnesses, they have no murder weapon, and a bunch of circumstantial evidence. Mm-hmm. They got a guy saying that she went to buy poison. Well, that's he said, she said. So, It's like, okay, they weren't poisoned, so They said that they thought they were being poisoned. They were eating gross food. Even Dr. Bowen said, like, oh, no, you got to eat something else. You know? So the poison theory I always thought was like, super shaky.
I'm standing right here.
Yeah. That and, like, I don't know, did this guy actually remember Lizzie, or was he mistaken? You know, he swore up and down lying? It was her. Could have been lying. Because all these people wrote in from all over the place.
He just wanted to be in the newspapers.
Yeah.
The cops are like, there's no murder weapon, all circumstantial evidence. Is she white? And they're like, yeah. They're like, damn, can't convict her.
Yeah. Well, and the prosecuting attorney actually lamented to the attorney general. He was like, this case is unwinnable. I don't know how we're going to do this. And they tried a little bit to kind of maybe weasel their way out. They were like, nah, we got to go. We got to go with this. Lizzie actually got, like, the dream team as far as legal defense.
Johnny Cochran.
What's the guy from Seinfeld?
Robert.
Jackie Childs.
Jackie Childs.
Yeah.
Robert
this is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
Played by David Schwimmer.
Yeah, there you go.
Did he have a perm in that, or am I just imagining it?
I think he might have had a perm.
I feel like
his hair was slicked back.
I know.
Because, he used to be a piece of shit.
Yeah. Living for New Year's Eve, you know what I mean?
The head of her defense team was actually George Dexter Robinson, who was the former governor of Massachusetts.
Dexter? He did it.
George Dexter Robinson. Anyway, he was a great lawyer. He was fantastic.
He's like, I only press charges against other attorneys.
Yeah.
That's good.
But they caught a cop lying under oath. They caught, like, a bunch of shit that the prosecution tried to throw out there that was not holding up well. And, like, even the judge at the end was like, you guys, he, like, reiterated the defense, and maybe he was sort of a miscarriage of justice because he leaned on the defense so much, and he was like, you can't convict somebody unless you actually have proof.
Yeah.
You know, and it took the jurors not long. They did it they took a little longer out of respect for the prosecution, and they acquitted Lizzie.
They're like, you guys want her dead so bad.
Yeah. Let's talk about the dress, because that was like.
But dying to talk about the dress all day.
Yeah.
Yes. So the dress
is it gold or is it blue?
Yeah.
You know,
it was calico, according to Alice Russell, who is the whistleblower, right?
What is calico?
It's a kind of cat.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It's made out of cats.
It's cat fur.
Here, let me Google it. It's hard to describe.
So didn't waste the meat.
Isn't it like multicolored?
It is multicolored, yes, but it's a specific type of.
It's like Joseph and the Technicolor Calico Dreamcoat.
Yeah.
She came sliding out in a rainbow sequin dress with a fucking axe.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this.
Oh.
And it could be different combinations, but it's a tight pattern with a couple of different colors. And yeah.
You're like,
it's sort of like
I can't hear you, you're dressed too loud.
Heyo. Shots fired.
And it was actually made of cheap fabric. And when they asked Alice Russell under oath if it was the nice dress she was wearing that day, you know what I mean? Everyone else was like, no, it was like a cheap fabric. It was this cheap calico dress. That's curious because she was wearing a nice dress all day. And there was a lady who was staying with them earlier that was like, I made that dress for her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was staying with them, and
it was like, I'm a little offended that you're calling it a cheap dress.
Yeah.
I put a lot of work into it.
Yeah, and she was like, there was house painters. They were painting the house at the time that I was visiting, and had dripped paint on the dress. And that's where the paint came from.
And no one had ever seen this woman before or after, and she had a big beard, wearing black clothing, smelled really bad.
Had a hook for a hand.
Thick Russian accent.
And she was like, yeah, it was destroyed almost immediately. Almost immediately as I made it, it was destroyed. And she burnt it, unfortunately, the day after her parents' murder. So that put a big hole in that case, in that part of the case.
A hole as big as the hole in her father's head.
Multiple holes in her father's head. If it wasn't Lizzie then who was it? People have talked ad nauseum over the past over 100 years, right, about this. Was it Bridget Sullivan? Did she snap and kill her employers? What motivation? Why? That's not really a motivation.
Sick of them trashing on her cooking.
Yeah. There was a story, turned out to be not true, but some lady named Bridget Sullivan made a deathbed confession in Butte, Montana, much later, that she had helped Lizzie Borden kill her parents. Not true. It just isn't. There's not enough evidence. People also wrote letters from all over claiming to be the murderer. But all of their details, it was crank letters. Like one guy's like, whiskey done the job. Yeah. and he was like, one lady, she was a medium, and she was like, I know what happened. They hid the axe in the cabinet next to the sofa. And there was no cabinet next to the sofa. Like that kind of shit. And they'd get that all over the place. They
don't put cabinets in their fucking sitting room. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. This is for sitting.
Yeah.
For storing stuff.
Yeah.
That's what the cellar's for.
Yeah. Emma Borden. People have said Emma Borden could have somehow made it from Fairhaven all the way to the house, done the job somehow, not seen, and then went all the way back to Fairhaven in time to receive the telegram to come back to the house.
I don't buy it.
Yeah.
Nah.
I don't buy that. Sorry. Now there's John Morse, the shady uncle. Shows up unexpectedly. No luggage. Not even a toothbrush. Nothing. Okay? And then is visiting. It's just odd. Yeah. Everything about his trip is odd.
It is odd. The timing's odd.
He remembers everything about his alibi. That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay? The thing is about his alibi, though, is when they questioned all those people, they all said, yep, that's true. Like the train guy where he remembered his hat number, they asked that guy. And he goes, well, I don't remember him necessarily, but I remember the 3 priests that John Morse said were on the streetcar with him. Yeah. I remember that. So that, okay, that corroborates that,
I mean, does he have a twin?
No. But when John Morse did show back up to the house...
Clone. Like,
Prestige.
Yeah, there you go.
Spoiler alert for that movie.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Christian Bale cast, folks.
Yeah, right? Yeah. When John Morse shows up back at the house, somehow he ignores the big crowd around the house. He ignores all the hoopla. He walks all the way around the back. He nonchalantly eats a pear in the back. He's not panicked by any of this at all. He sees police by this point and goes inside, sees Andrew dead, and goes back outside and nonchalantly talks with cops and even a reporter. Nonchalantly, right afterwards. That's weird.
Yeah. Don't know much about this murder, but I heard the swings were clean and true.
Yeah, right? And some people were like, could Lizzie, a woman, even have done this? It's like, yeah, she could have. A woman certainly could have done it. He's not the murderer, in my mind. His alibi's too good, but the way he's acting is weird. And I'll kind of get to that as well. I'll wrap all this up a little bit. Now, Lizzie. Lizzie Borden had a motive. Money. She had opportunity, which is big.
Yeah.
She had moments where she was alone with Andrew, and moments where she was not observed within the house during the time between 9 and 10, which is when Abby was murdered. Okay? And no one heard Abby's body hit the floor, and they're like, they kind of roasted Abby a little bit. They're like, her 200-something pound frame hitting the floor, no one heard that? Yeah. And it's like, guys, leave her alone. Leave her alone.
Respect for the dead. Come on.
And the thing is, I mean, it's a house with no hallways. Nothing echoes down hallways. And it's easy to move around in a house without hallways without being seen. You know what I mean? So that's something we got to remember. But again, with the timeline provided, it's physically impossible, if all those things did happen, for her to commit those murders, dress, use the weapon, all those things, to take place within that time. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's like the biggest wrench in her as a suspect, in my mind. Yeah. So, well, some people said she covered herself.
Like Gallagher.
Yeah. Well, then where was the thing that she covered herself in? Some say it was Andrew's overcoat, and if you look at the crime scene photo, his overcoat is wrapped up and put underneath his head. Still doesn't explain Abby's murder, right? Why she wasn't covered in blood from that. Some say that she did these murders naked, and then went up and got dressed. This is also hard to believe because Victorian women were almost never naked. You know what I mean? Almost never. Except to, like, bathe.
The overcoat,
That's
though.
They leave a lot to the imagination.
If she did use the overcoat for both murders, though.
Well, she couldn't have because Andrew was gone during the times of 9 to 10 a.m.
It was Andrew's overcoat, not John's?
Andrew's overcoat.
But he brought it with him when he left.
He brought his overcoat with him when he left.
Okay, yes. Then never mind.
Mm-hmm.
This is a real wolf chicken bag.
I know,
isn't it? Isn't it?
The Hendrik Eifnick murders, kind of.
Yeah, that one's hard to believe. Now, this theory is my favorite theory.
Here we go.
Is this the one I'm going to agree with?
You might.
Yeah, let's see.
But I have a monkey wrench for that one too. So here we go. The next one is the supposed illegitimate son of Andrew Borden.
I like this.
That's not what I was thinking, but there we go.
William Borden.
You smell like shit.
Well, he worked at a place that made cider. And the stuff you use to make cider and, like, the work he did, it was bad. And his family would even say, dear God, you know, it is bad. It smells really awful.
They're like, why don't you quit? And he's like, because the cider house rules.
Nice.
He wasn't right in the head, is what everyone said. He actually did some time in a mental asylum, which were not nice back in those days.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, he had an axe through most of his life that he named and that he talked to.
Oh.
Okay.
So he had an axe to grind and an actual axe that he didn't need to grind because it was always razor sharp.
Yes.
Because it was his best friend.
Yes.
I feel like this is...
Okay. Let me just keep going.
This is ridiculous
There had been talk about Andrew's will. And the thing is William Borden, according to this theory, wanted to be included in the family so he could get some of that money.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe this was the mysterious man that had been hanging around the house, you know, and had come and had that heated conversation with Andrew a couple of days prior. Maybe this is why Andrew told other people that something was not right. And maybe this is why Lizzie told Alice Russell that somebody was going to try to hurt her dad. It's because this crazy dude was hanging around the place and he was getting mad and shit, you know? Yeah. Now, the thing is, you know, women leaving the room and stuff during business talk, I think she saw a little bit more. I think she knew a little bit more of what was going on if this is the truth, you know? So she may have had an inkling about all this stuff. And maybe within the family unit, they all kind of knew about this, right? And they knew it was a little dangerous. Maybe this is why John Morse shows up when he does unexpectedly, right?
Keep an eye on things.
Right. And maybe John Morse was supposed to give Abby a note telling her to leave while William Borden comes back to the house and has sort of a final conversation, one that they might be expecting with Andrew about this will, right? Maybe Lizzie's also aware of this. Maybe that's why she leaves for the barn, because she knows that William is going to come over and they're going to talk business, right?
Yeah, but when things move on to foul play, you would think someone would say,
I know who did it, right?
Yeah, because I don't want to go to jail in their stead.
Unless they're in on it.
Well, maybe not in on it, but aware of it. Now, she couldn't say she knew who it was. Because that would make... Because the way, you know, when somebody is killed and they don't have a will, all the money goes to the next of kin, which would have been her and Emma. But if there's someone else involved, that money would have been split apart and it would have went to someone else, right? You would have had too much to lose if maybe it would have all gone to that estate. You know, you would have had too much to lose. Maybe she took the rap, just like maybe she took the rap for the daylight burglary, you know? So she could be proven innocent and then keep the money. Right? Because she knows she's not the murderer. But she can't say who the murderer is, because then he might get a piece of the pie.
But would he get any of the money if he was convicted?
But it could go to, like, an estate. Like, it could go to his mother.
Yeah.
You know, or something like that. Right? So they had too much to lose, right? This is according to this theory.
Yeah.
But what would stop him just from axing up everyone until he gets all the money?
I don't know. That's not, she wasn't around while he was there, right? Yeah. She never saw him exactly.
But if he did do the murders, she would have seen him leave, right? Maybe she lied.
Because when she's in the barn, eating the pears and looking for the iron, for the sinkers...
If he could have left then?
She just missed him. Now, it is possible to make your way around this house and in and around this house and not be detected because of the lack of hallways and because of how the house is laid out.
And cardboard box.
In a cardboard box, yeah.
Yeah. Swam. Yeah. You know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Now, the mystery man, this could have been the mystery man. This man dressed in black that smelled really bad may or may not have been holding an axe, who they say jumped on a train and that was that and left. Later in life, William Borden wrote the newspapers a letter confessing. But that's curious because he spelled Borden wrong. Which...
Isn't he just not right in the head, though?
See, that's what I think. Like, maybe he's just not right in the head and he doesn't know how to spell anything. This is the Victorian times, after all. How well-educated is he? But
I would imagine
it's his
not
own name.
Well. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's weird that he writes "mad" in quotations Willie Borden.
Madman Willie Borden.
Mad dog Willie Borden.
Yeah. He, unfortunately, he committed suicide afterwards. There's no real way to know. He never confessed to anybody. So you don't know. But those, I think, are the best scenarios, right? I think, in my mind, it's either Lizzie or William. Now, there's an author that did a lot of research, and he claimed he could prove that William Borden was not, in fact, Andrew Borden's son. Does that take anything away from this? I don't know. Because maybe the guy, again, not right in the head, comes back, maybe he believes that he is the illegitimate son of Andrew Borden.
Borden thinks that it's his bastard, and he thinks that he is his bastard, then...
What's the difference?
Right. Yeah. What's the difference? Yeah, even if he's not.
There is no difference.
Or even if Andrew doesn't believe that he is, and this crazy guy keeps showing up at his house.
Like Joker.
Yeah, like Joker.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to be Batman's best friend. Nay, worst enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just like he does it in the movie.
Yeah. It's still a big question mark, because even people that say that they know that it's Lizzie or know that it's William, there's no way to really know.
They don't know shit.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Now our story
fucking really mean.
Pieces of shit.
Our story's not done yet.
Oh.
Ooh.
Because Lizzie was acquitted, and there was sort of a short celebration. Honestly, the whole sort of town was behind her.
It was like, yeah, we don't know who did it.
Yeah, well, they just didn't.
There's a murderer on the loose.
Let's all celebrate.
They didn't want her to go down for it, right?
Oh, that's sweet.
Like, she went into court every day, like, on the arm of, like, this reverend that was her good friend. Because she was a Sunday school teacher. She was part of the Women's Christian Temperance Union.
Rotary Club.
Back then it was temperance unions. But they stood by her throughout the whole case. But then, like, once she kind of got back in the world, first of all, she sold that house. Her and Emma sold all that. And they had their house on the hill. And they moved up there together, something you didn't do. As Victorian women, they lived together, alone, without a man. They decked this house out. It was immaculate, and it still is. It's still there. Lizzie had on the top step, engraved into the steps, Maplecroft. It was the name of this house, which was seen as extravagant back in the day. And people were like, all right, you're spending that money extravagantly, huh? There was, like, parquet floors in there. Absolutely extravagant. She had 2 bathrooms put in.
Oh.
She had servants. She had all this stuff. And she had bars on the windows because she was a little paranoid. And they're like, that's weird. You don't put bars on your windows up on the hill.
How are you even going to pay for all of that? That's so extravagant. It's more money than you even have. And she's like, we're actually doing a reality show called Borden House.
Nice.
Yeah, people just started, like, giving them the side eye, And, like, Lizzie returned to, like, her family pews at the church. And when she sat down, all the people next to her got up and moved. And she, like, was
rude.
Like,
she's like, I don't work at the cider house. Come on, guys.
And she got up and left and never went back. a deeply religious person, never went back. She became increasingly paranoid and increasingly reclusive. She stayed inside. She didn't go out much. Every time she did go out, people would see her, notice her, and people would gather around and look at her, and she would have to dart away.
Got the money, just move, man.
Well, this is the place she always wanted to live, and it was sort of her dream house, and it is immaculate. It's beautiful, but yeah, she had a driver that she paid real well. She paid for his kids college or education or something like that.
So they could go to driving school and drive for rich people someday too.
Yeah, she was really nice to her servants, right? Paid them well to mainly just keep their trap shut. She had.
She wants the live version of Downton Abbey.
Yeah, she very insular. She had a lot of birds, a lot of pets, a lot of cats, dogs, things like that. She loved animals.
They know how to keep a fucking secret.
Yeah. There's actually a rare picture of her later in life sitting on the porch of that house with a puppy dog in her arms.
And a copy of her New York Times bestseller, If I Did It.
Yeah, right. And around this time, she became friends with an actress, theater actress, Nance O'Neill, who was she was the Megan Fox of her day. Or maybe a better example would be, I don't know, Marion Cotillard of her day. Yeah. Someone a little bit better at acting. Again,
she
actors...
To this show, she's going to be upset.
Oh no, cry into your $100 bills. Those drunken history boys made fun of you. The actors were still looked down upon, at this time.
Rightfully so.
They were looked, especially actresses. They were looked upon as loose women, And Emma did not like their friendship. One time, Lizzie had a big party at her house with all these theater types, and Emma, who was even more reclusive than Lizzie, these deaths haunted Emma. Most certainly, she may have known the truth, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But she came downstairs and scolded Lizzie and all of her friends, and she moved out shortly afterwards, and they never spoke again.
Either these communists go or I go. Hard cut to her. Your suitcase is learning about the proletariat seizing the means of fucking distribution or whatever.
Yeah. Lizzie and Nance O'Neill's relationship sort of melted away at some point. Lizzie would take trips to other cities where she could sort of walk around unnoticed, because she couldn't go anywhere in town. People would know. Mm-hmm. There's actually a story that comes up where there was an art store, and Lizzie comes in, she kind of takes a look around, and then says, "Oh, no, I'm not really interested," and then leaves. And one of the clerks is like, "I think she just stole something. This thing, I think it was a little tchotchke or something. It's this little thing that I saw here, and now I don't see it." And Lizzie was wearing a big coat, a big fur coat.
She was wearing Jinkos.
Yeah, chain wallet.
Yeah. And a big trench coat. No, she's wearing a big fur coat, so maybe she could have hid it in there.
Lizzie Borden's actually 3 9-year-olds stacked on top of each other. It has been the entire time.
Yeah. Yep. So what happens is this lady comes in later with the thing, and it's broken, and she's looking to get it repaired. And the clerk is like, "Where'd you get this?" She goes, "I got this as a Christmas present from Lizzie Borden." So she takes it back to her boss, and her boss is like, "Don't say anything. Don't talk about the suspicions or anything. Just say we'll fix it and whatnot." They confront Lizzie about it, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna serve you with a warrant for shoplifting, and you're gonna go to jail, most certainly, at least for a year, or however long, unless you sign this confession saying you committed the murders." Not because not because she could be tried for it again, because there's double jeopardy laws. You can't be tried again.
They could say, "Ha-ha!"
Exactly, just so he could be the man that caught Lizzie Borden,
Sounds like she just signed it to stay out of jail.
Well, so they take her into a room, and they're like, "It's now or never," and she does, right? And they're like, "As long as you live, we're not going to let any of this get out," And of course, there's copies made. A photographer gets a copy. He doesn't say anything for a long time, But then, you know, in the 30s or 40s or something like that, much later,
she did.
He takes it to somebody and he asks them for a lot of money for it. Yeah. They're like, wow, this is an intriguing story, and if this is true, this is crazy, you know. But, you know, again, she was coerced, so who knows if it's an actual legitimate confession at all. But they were going to look at the signature, and they were like, it's signed Elizabeth Borden, Elizabeth, because later on she did change her name to Elizabeth to sort of sound a little bit more mature. Yeah. But as a Victorian woman, you also didn't do that. Yeah. You don't change your name unless you're getting married. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's another thing those people up on the hill sort of clutch their pearls over.
Yeah, that's quite a...
Yeah. They're like, huh. So they looked at her will, which is public, and they put them back to back, and they're like, these match really well.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Too well. It was a fraud because they match too well. Mm-hmm. One was definitely traced over the other. There's no way that when she made out her will between these 20 years that they look exactly the same. Yeah. There's no way. Yeah. It's a fraud. So that confession is a fraud. I just want you to know that. There is a rumor of that confession. It's fraud.
Because I was totally like, that doesn't mean shit if they coerced her into it.
Oh, yeah.
It means nothing.
Yeah, it means nothing.
Yeah. I know.
They're like, that's how we get all of our confessions. You beat them. You beat them and threaten them until they, capitulate.
Now, and it calls into question whether or not she even stole the art. Because some people are like, she's a kleptomaniac. You know,
the Winona Ryder of her time.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too.
But who knows? If that whole story is bullshit, who knows? Now, Emma, she moved in with two other spinsters in a house, and she was the money behind the whole thing, but she was a silent, secret partner. She didn't want anyone to know that she was Emma Borden in this house. And, like, the other sisters were, like cagey about talking about her. And she straight up, like, sat in this room by herself all the time.
Just messing up the mix by herself.
And like, you know, straight up, like, kids walking by and, like, oh, there she is. You know, she's up there. Yeah.
Closes the blinds.
Yeah. And she had a secret staircase with secret lights that she could flip on and flood the whole, like, downstairs with light in case, like, because she was paranoid. Mm-hmm. And one night, she thought she heard something and went down, like, these staircases, flipped on the lights, and then fell. And it caused damage to her kidney. She died. She actually died on June 10th, 1927, 9 days after Lizzie Borden died. Oh. But they were unaware because they didn't talk to each other.
They were estranged.
Now, Lizzie, also a recluse, she got her gallbladder removed. Mm. The surgery didn't really go well. She was ill afterwards. She was an uncooperative patient at the hospital as well. That's what, like, the nurses said. And she died a few days later of pneumonia, complications with the whole thing. And yeah, she died on June 1st, 1927. And actually, she left a lot of the money to the Fall River Animal Rescue. No. Because she loved animals so much. Not people, right? Some money was left to various friends here and there that she sort of kept in touch with, although there weren't many. She put a lot in her estate to keep the family grave plots upkept, which you can still see to this day.
They're looking nice.
Yeah, and actually hers says Elizabeth, and like there's a big like sort of obelisk-looking thing that says A.J. Borden or AJB. Yeah. Yep, and then it says Borden really big on it.
Mm-hmm. In her grave, it says Elizabeth Borden, and then it says, in quotes, I didn't do it. I promise I didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. It just says Elizabeth. Because, like, those family grave plots, there's, like, a monument, and then, like, this person's here, this person's here, this person's here. You know, and that's kind of how it goes.
Flowchart.
Yeah. But she, I mean, around the time of her arrest, that rhyme came out. And she had to listen to that rhyme over and over again from children outside for the rest of her life. Mm. And whether or not she did it, she had to live with that. And, you know, in the court of public opinion, it didn't go well for her. And she was a prisoner in her own house, even though she got pretty much everything she wanted. Whether or not she did do it or not.
Taking an autogyro to Siam and started a new life.
Yeah. The house on 2nd Street is still there. You can go see it. We touched on this earlier. It's a bed and breakfast and also a museum. and they do tours of the place. So you can go and tour the house.
I think like this is where the dead body was brutally massacred.
Yeah, and they have brazenly sitting out the very graphic crime scene photos of Andrew's head and face.
Cool.
And Abby's dead body.
That's all he ever really wanted.
Yeah.
Despite all of his pragmatism and miserly ways, he's forever known as a guy who really lost his head back then.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating, the whole case.
I'm happy we did this one. I know that this is kind of a popular one in the worlds of history and true crime and whatnot.
Spooky tales.
Yeah.
We actually, kind of mulled over whether or not we were going to do this because it's so popular. But
it was requested, and that's the reason why.
It was requested. Mm-hmm. We love our fans. And clearly me and Chris don't know anything about history, so we needed it. So.
Are they just picking that up now?
Yeah.
I think it was that. I don't know if that drifter dude, or whatever it was, if he was William or not.
Mad William.
That guy did it.
Another detail I want to add here is Andrew's body, again, I think was sitting up, which tells me he wasn't laying down, so he wasn't like taking a nap or anything. He was probably sitting...
He's probably talking to that guy.
Somebody. Yeah, when he was...
He's like, now you see here...
And the thing is...
You're not getting a dime of my money.
William could have been upstairs. Yeah. Like, he was probably waiting for Andrew to come home, and she comes in, and he hit her. Yeah. And that happened. And then he stayed up there until he heard Andrew come down. Maybe that laugh was William, and not Lizzie. Well, and a laugh could be a lot of different things. It's not necessarily a laugh,
He could have farted.
Yeah.
Well, and
could have been a squeaker.
He's known for having the fart that sounds like a dainty woman's laughter.
Yeah.
Yes. Giggle.
Oh, God. Anyway, I think it's fascinating. It's definitely fascinating. I definitely want to go to the Borden house one of these days. They have a gift shop in there.
Ooh.
Oh, man, I need it.
And all their stuff is like gallows humor,
I hope they have axes.
They do. They actually have that broken handle axe there.
Oh, nice.
They have that one there.
All right, everybody, thank you for listening. We are the History Boys. I am Christopher Whedon, and as we started last week, we're all going to give a recommendation for, a spooky movie to watch during the most season. Beautiful of holidays, spooky season, Halloween. As usual, I'm not going fully traditional scary movie, but I'm going to say the movie What We Do in the Shadows, Taika Waititi, Jermaine Clement, super funny take on, the everyday life of vampires, and if you watch the TV show, it's even better.
So good. But, somehow even better.
Yeah.
It's not even a spin-off. They take place in the same universe.
That's true.
They're companion pieces.
Different characters, but...
same world.
I think the main characters all at some point cameo.
Oh, they meet.
In the show. Yeah. The show... Really, I more wanted to say the show.
The show's so good.
But watch both.
But watch the movie.
Both.
Watch the movie.
Good
the movie's good too.
I'm Tyler Armentrout, and... I am also a history boy. I'm going to recommend Malignant. I think it is on HBO Max until the 10th. What is today?
Get on it.
It's the 10th. By the time this goes up, it's going to be long gone. So sorry, folks. Track it down when it comes back.
They can find it somewhere.
It is bonkers. They make some bold, creative choices, and you're either going to hate it or you're going to love it. And real quick, I just want to say, if you're listening, you're probably already doing this, but maybe it's your first time. Leave us a 5-star review. Subscribe to us on all the podcast things. If you're feeling it, give us $1 or more. Get access to our Discord via Patreon. All of those things.
And that's a month, too. $1 a month.
Yeah, that's per month. Yeah. But it's $1 per month. It's like it's not even a beer.
Yeah. Or you can buy us beer each month.
Or you can give us a little bit more. It will get spent on beer. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions for episodes, HistoryBoizPodcast@gmail.com is the place to go for that purpose.
And I am Jerry Nash, your humble history boy as always. Thank you so much for listening. My spooky movie this time will be a foreign film. As I normally do, it sounds
pretentious fucking prick.
Yeah, French film, The Strange Color of Your Body's Tears. It is a bizarre, artsy movie with a killer soundtrack.
Ooh.
And it's really weird and has a wonderful imagery that is just, I can't believe I've only seen it in one movie. And yeah, that soundtrack, my goodness.
And if you want to know where you can stream it from, unfortunately,
it's on Shudder.
Oh, it's on Shudder. Okay.
Yes.
I was gonna make some shitty joke about how like if you don't know where it is, then you probably don't deserve to watch it. It's actually not even about the money for them. It's more about the pretentious. Anyway, no.
It's on Shudder this month. Mr. Chris, do the thing.
Love you. Bye.
We've had a lot of fun. We'll see you next time. Or I guess we won't.